My childhood sweetheart injured one leg while trying to save his first love, only for her to abandon him and go abroad. I brought the depressed childhood sweetheart home, cared for him devotedly, and searched everywhere for renowned doctors to treat him. 3 years later, his leg was finally cured, but he went to find his down-and-out first love first thing. His tone was full of caution. "Een, I'm not a cripple anymore. Let me take care of you, okay? In this second life." Looking at the childhood sweetheart in the wheelchair begging me to come back, I just sneered coldly. "Han Wonjo, this is the warrior's medal you earned for charging ahead for love. You should treasure it." There's been a car accident at the intersection. A burst of urgent cries rang out beside his ear. After a few seconds of brief confusion, the scene before his eyes gradually became clear. A large crowd surged toward the intersection. A familiar scene overlapping with the one from many years ago when my childhood sweetheart was hit by a car while trying to save his first love. I froze in place, soon stumbling a few steps from the surging crowd, then continued forward, until I saw Han Wonjo collapsed on the ground. His ankle twisted at an unnatural angle, blood spreading continuously across the road. Yet his first love, Shen-in, merely sat there elegantly, crying as if in a sorrowful stage play. It finally dawned on me that I had been reborn. In my previous life, Han Wonjo had done the same, pushing aside his beloved first love as the car sped toward them. The price of playing the hero to save the beauty was a crippled leg. Yet he accepted it willingly. But Shen-in abandoned him and went abroad to study when he needed her the most. Once proud Han Wonjo fell into the mud in an instant, never to recover from that point on. I couldn't bear to see the boy I had admired for years become so dispirited. So I took him home, cared for him attentively, and sought out renowned doctors from all over for him. 3 years later, his legs were finally healed. Yet the first thing he did was go find his down-and-out first love. His tone was full of caution. "Een, I'm not crippled anymore. Let me take care of you, okay?" And I, like those rehabilitation devices he had used, with a body full of aches from overwork, was left behind by him in that rented apartment I had once thought of as home. Just like the past he had completely severed. I never expected that when I woke up, everything would be shuffled anew. I returned to the point where it all began. I covered my face and laughed and cried at the same time, tears streaming down my cheeks. "Han Wonjo, I hope that this time, even if you have to drag that lame leg of yours, you can still live happily ever after with Shen-in and be united in heart forever." Han Wonjo was so hurt that his face twisted in pain. Only a few anguished groans escaped his mouth, and he couldn't manage to utter a complete sentence. I stood quietly hidden in the crowd, watching his miserable state with great interest, feeling a surge of satisfaction in my heart. Even Shen-yin's tearful, pitiful appearance suddenly felt endearing. "Han Wonjo, this is what you wanted, isn't it? What do you need an ambulance for? Love can ease the pain." In my previous life, the moment I heard that Han Wonjo was in trouble, I immediately pushed through the crowd and rushed over. After shoving aside the annoying Shen-in, I called an ambulance for him at the first opportunity. But just as we were waiting for help, he frowned and glared at me, forcing out a few words through his throat with difficulty. "Don't push my Een. No one can take advantage of me being injured to bully my girl." The way they looked at me made it seem as if I were some vicious supporting female character standing in the way of their love. My heart was instantly slashed a few times by a knife that had just cut through a lemon, stinging painfully with sour ache. Shen-in proudly lifted her chin at me, then rushed over and hugged him tightly, only causing him to bleed even more. I was just about to scold her, but Han Wonjo's protective expression left me speechless. Now, whenever I think about how passionately I loved Han Wonjo in my past life, I feel disgusted. Damn it, was I an idiot in my past life? Only someone whose brain has been kicked by a donkey would like Han Wonjo, this disgusting man. In this new life, I will never again meddle in the messy affairs of this crazy couple. At that moment, a kind-hearted passerby took out their phone, ready to call an ambulance for him, and casually said, "Little girl, don't just keep crying. Hurry up and call the police for your boyfriend." Because he was in a hurry, His tone unconsciously rose a little. As a result, the spoiled little princess cried even harder. Han Wonjo's eyes turned red with heartache as he glared at the passerby and accused, "Don't you dare scold her." The bystander's face turned green and white. And in the end he rolled his eyes speechlessly and silently put away his phone. The other bystanders also gave up the idea of helping. After all, if even his own girlfriend wasn't worried beside him, why should they go out of their way to be disliked? Having seen enough of the show, I found it rather boring and turned to leave. The moment I turned my head, my eyes met Han Wonjo's, catching the fleeting disappointment in his eyes. I curled the corner of my lips and quickened my steps to leave. It was already 2 days later when I saw Han Wonjo again. The counselor organized several classmates who were close to Han Wonjo to visit him in the hospital. As his childhood sweetheart, who grew up with him since childhood, I was naturally also among the invited. From Han Wonjo's roommate, I learned about the aftermath of the car accident. As the crowd of onlookers grew larger and larger, Shan'in finally realized belatedly that she should call an ambulance. Without my intervention, after all that commotion, by the time he was taken to the hospital, he had already missed the best time for treatment. In the end, Han Wonjo had to amputate one of his lower legs, completely eliminating any possibility of returning to his former self as he had in his previous life. For Han Wonjo, who had always been a perfectionist, this was a devastating blow. And this was only the beginning. After a long period of mental preparation, I thought I could face Han Wonjo with a calm and composed attitude. But when I saw Han Wonjo again, lying weakly in bed wearing a hospital gown, a surge of intense anger and hatred erupted in my heart. When he was abandoned by Shan'in back then, he looked just as pitiful. His face was pale. He had lost so much weight that he looked completely different. Lying sickly in bed, he didn't speak, didn't eat, just stared blankly out the window, as if about to vanish from this world in the next second. I let out a soft sigh and raised my hand to pour him a glass of water. Suddenly, he grabbed my wrist, his eyes filled with desperate pleading. "Xiao Yun, you're all I have left. You won't leave me, will you?" I agreed. Because of this promise, I stayed by his side through the toughest 3 years. I started working tirelessly to earn money, living frugally to cover his high medical expenses. During the hardest times, I even slept only 4 hours a day. As someone who was a disaster in the kitchen, I painstakingly studied recipes, burned several pots, and finally managed to prepare delicious and nutritious healthy meals. I traveled from hospital to hospital, visiting both traditional Chinese medicine practitioners and Western doctors, all in pursuit of that faint glimmer of hope. I even placed my hopes in the divine, climbing step by step from the foot of the mountain to the temple. Bowing with each step, before the Buddha, I prayed, willing to trade 10 years of my own life for his recovery. The Buddha answered my prayers, leading me to a reclusive miracle doctor deep in the mountains. After persistently pleading with him for 2 months, the miracle doctor finally agreed to treat Han Wonjo for me. With the doctor's miraculous skills, 3 months later, Han Wonjo was able to move freely, with almost no trace of his previous injuries. At the same time, the game program written by Han Wonjo happened to catch the trend of the times, and its copyright was successfully sold for an astronomical price. I thought we had finally overcome all hardships and reached a better life. Who would have thought that the very next day, Han Wonjo, who had just been promoted to my fiancé, completely lost contact. Just as I was anxiously about to go to the police, Big Data pushed me a trending video. My beloved fiancé gave his childhood sweetheart a grand, widely known proposal in the city's central square. He knelt on one knee, his gaze filled with a tenderness I had never seen before, and his hands trembled with nervousness and excitement as he slipped the ring onto Shenyin's finger. As the New Year's bell rang, brilliant fireworks burst into bloom in vast swathes, and they shared a blissful kiss amidst countless blessings. A perfect match, like a pair of flawless jade. I let out a bitter laugh, tearing off the pull-tab ring Han Wonjo had made for me, my heart aching so intensely it was hard to breathe. Because there is no love, there is stinginess. I am merely the stepping stone for him to rush towards true love. The bridge that gets dismantled after crossing the river. Words can be sweet and coaxing, but they are not worth the effort. As my thoughts return to the present, I glanced at Han Wonjo's refilled foredrip, his empty pant leg, and Shen-in, who was engrossed in her phone nearby. I shifted my gaze away and quietly followed behind the counselor and classmates, uttering a few official, perfunctory words. After the pleasantries were exchanged, the counselor called Shen-in outside, exactly the same as in the previous life. I informed her of the happy news that her study abroad application had been successful. Without a doubt, Shen-in would make the same choice. I smiled with delight. Xiao Yun. Just as I was about to leave with the main group, Han Wonjo suddenly called out to me. He looked sorrowful, his weak voice drifting over. Xiao Yun, why have you become so cold? The Xia Yun I know isn't like this. She wouldn't ignore me after I got into a car accident, nor would she come to see me so late. Oh, so he knows how well I treated him in the past. But how did he treat me in return? I sneered inwardly but kept a straight face, throwing his own words back at him. You said it yourself, you only see me as a friend, and told me not to meddle in your affairs out of misplaced affection. He was choked by my words. After a long silence, his lips moved as he was about to say something. But Shen-in returned. The guilt on her face instantly turned into resentment upon seeing me alone with Han Wonjo. Xia Yun, how shameless of you. How dare you try to seduce him while I'm away? My Wonjo only has me in his heart, so some people shouldn't humiliate themselves. Shen-in scolded me while reaching out to hit me. Han Wonjo watched in silence, not defending me even though he knew Shen-in was being unreasonable. I sneered and took a step back. Avoiding the slap she swung at me, I looked at her calmly, raising an eyebrow. Don't worry. I don't have a habit of picking up trash to eat. You can keep such worthless goods for yourself. After saying that, I ignored Han Wonjo's hurt expression and turned to leave without looking back. Perhaps because Han Wonjo had his leg amputated. Shen-in left earlier than in her previous life. Out of guilt, she didn't tell Han Wonjo about going abroad and quietly left alone. She said goodbye to everyone else privately, and even I received her provocative text message. Xia Yun, believe it or not, even if I leave, you still won't beat me. I laughed. She really hadn't changed at all. On the night Han Wonjo proposed to her, she also posted a WeChat Moments update visible only to me. The photo of their fingers interlocked was paired with a short caption, all I have to do is stand there, and he will love me. I might have felt wronged and upset if I had seen this before, but now Han Wonjo means nothing to me. The boy who once said he would protect me forever had long since rotted away. Little by little, in those tender, youthful years, I replied. I'm kind of shipping you two now, wishing you a lifetime locked together. Without waiting for Shen-in to respond, I directly blocked every way she and Han Wonjo could contact me. In this life, I will live for myself. Putting down my phone, I buried myself in studying and began striving for the upcoming final exams. It wasn't until the next roll call in the professional course that I realized Han Wonjo hadn't been attending class for a long time. His roommate said that Han Wonjo now resembled a walking corpse, barely surviving each day by drowning himself in alcohol. I didn't care. My mind only focused on how many words I still had to memorize today and how many difficult professional questions I needed to ask the teacher after class. Time flew by, and before I knew it, the final exams had arrived. As I walked out of the exam hall, I bumped into Han Wonjo, who was there to handle his leave of absence procedures. He had lost a lot of weight, his cheekbones slightly protruding, struggling to use his wheelchair. No longer the spirited young man he once was. I pretended not to see him and brushed past him, yet he firmly grasped my wrist, his voice trembling as he said, Xiao Yun, are you going to abandon me too? I somewhat speechlessly broke free from his grip. Don't make it sound like there's something between us. Stay away from may have no interest in being the rebound guy. I watched his hands tighten on the wheelchair and smirked maliciously. Besides, transportation is so advanced these days. Studying abroad doesn't mean you'll never see each other again. It's just abandoning you. One seat's not a big deal. You love her so much. Forgiving her once shouldn't be a problem. Can't you? As a grown man. Stop being so petty. He lowered his head, looking thoughtful. A playful smile curls at the corner of my lips. According to the timeline from my past life, Shen-yin should already have a new boyfriend in Paris by now. I can't help but look forward to Han Wonjo's reaction when he finds out. That very night, Han Wonjo booked the earliest flight available and rushed to Paris overnight. Our mutual friend, Brother Liu, worried about his safety. After failing to dissuade him, he had no choice but to accompany him on the trip. While waiting for the flight, he sent me many messages. Xiao Yun. Han Wonjo has really gone crazy. For such a heartless woman. He's done so many insane things. As a brother, I'm truly frustrated that he won't change. Xiao Yun. I can't persuade him anymore. He used to listen to you the most. Could you go and talk some sense into him? I expressionlessly found a screenshot from my album that Shen-yin had specifically sent me before. A screenshot of Han Wonjo's WeChat moments and sent it over. In the picture, Han Wonjo wore a doting smile as he knelt on one knee to put socks on Shen-yin. The sickeningly sweet declaration from the domineering CEO was practically blinding to everyone. Girls in my WeChat moments. Don't talk to me. I only listen to my sweetheart. He didn't even reply to the female teacher's WeChat messages urging him to submit his competition questions. The female teacher, who came across this WeChat moment, slowly typed a question mark in the comments section. The other side clearly paused for a moment. Typing hung at the top for a full 2 minutes before a stiff message finally came through. About to board the plane. Talk later. With that, the awkward topic was swiftly brought to an end. It carried a hint of fleeing in defeat. The day they arrived was a weekend, and Shen-yin wasn't at school. Han Wonjo's number had been blocked by Shen-yin the very day he left. Han Wonjo, powerless and furious, took advantage of Brother Liu's inattention to shake him off. Stubbornly, he wheeled his chair back and forth through the apartments around the school. Perhaps it was fate that led him to find Shen-yin on a stone bridge. But the scene before him pierced his eyes with pain. Shen-yin was the only child in her family, raised with indulgence and doting from her parents since childhood. The Shen family had both power and wealth, and no matter what mistakes she made, they were always there to clean up the mess for her. At every stage of life, there has been no shortage of people driven by self-interest who flatter and fawn over her. She was also born with a striking and radiant beauty, and since elementary school, she has been admired by boys. Naturally, she grew up with an arrogant, willful, and self-centered personality. After getting together with Han Wonjo, she was even more spoiled and pampered by him. Whether it was making him wait in line for 2 hours in winter to buy her favorite breakfast, or giving up important competitions to be with her, Han Wonjo never complained or regretted it. Even when doing these things, he always wore a happy, sweet smile on his face. But after being together for so long, this was the first time he had seen such gentle affection on Shen-yin's face. Shen-yin was holding the arm of a tall, mixed-race man, leaning against him intimately like a little bird. The man whispered something in her ear, making her giggle uncontrollably. Then, she shyly stood on tiptoe and planted a kiss on the man's handsome cheek. Han Wonjo's eyes widened in fury, his face terrifyingly grim. Surging rage drove him to wheel his chair forward. He wanted to lunge at the man who had cuckolded him, but due to his limited mobility, he stumbled and tumbled out of his wheelchair instead. The scene was both humiliating and comical. His palm was cut by sharp stones, yet he seemed to feel no pain. His gaze fixed intently on Shen-yin as he demanded an explanation from her. Shen-yin curled her lips in disdain. Look at yourself. How could you possibly be worthy of me? Back then, I was just playing around with you because you had a handsome face. Now that you're disabled, do you really expect me to take care of you for the rest of your life? I'm not your ever dutiful childhood sweetheart. Han Wonjo's eyes reddened with fury. You wretch. I became like this because of you. Shen-yin held hands with her new boyfriend, saying nonchalantly, I never asked you to save me. You were the one who eagerly rushed over. Han Wonjo was furious, struggling to swing his fists at them. But Shen-yin's new boyfriend kicked him into the river. Han Wonjo couldn't swim, and by the time Brother Lu arrived, he had already fallen unconscious. Brother Lu called to tell me that Han Wenzhou was running a high fever, deliriously calling out my name. Xiao Yun. He really took a big loss this time. Finally saw that woman for who she is. And truly knows he was wrong. Do you too? Still have a chance. He used to. He really was very good to me before. He fought off those who bullied me, saved up 2 months' worth of breakfast money to buy me a teddy bear, and even promised to protect me forever under the shooting stars. The affection in his eyes cannot be feigned. Though I may not be as expressive as he is, I respond to everything he does. If he gets into a fight for me, I'll tend to his wounds and help him catch up on his studies. If he gives me a teddy bear, I'll stay up for nights to make him a handmade bracelet in return. He promised to protect me forever, so I gave him my whole heart, praying that the boy I loved would have a lifetime of peace and happiness. Everyone assumed we were a couple, because apart from a single confession, the devotion and feelings we gave each other were practically no different from those of a real pair of lovers. I was willing to believe that the younger version of him had once been sincere with me. But it wasn't until I met Shen Yin that I understood true feelings can change in an instant. I interrupted Lu Ji's endless rambling. I remember you have a younger sister. Would you be willing to introduce Han Wenzhou to your sister now? Lu Gu almost instinctively thought of those awful things between Han Wenzhou and Shen Yin, and his brows furrowed before he fell silent. See, even someone as good-natured as Lu Gu knows that the current Han Wenzhou is not a good match. He remained silent for a long time, then let out a sigh. I'm sorry, Xiaoyun. I wanted so badly for us to go back to how things were before that I didn't consider your feelings. After that day, Brother Lu no longer took it upon himself to report Han Wenzhou's situation to me. I was able to enjoy some temporary peace and quiet for a while. My feelings for Han Wenzhou have gradually calmed down from the initial intense resentment. It's not worth wasting my emotions on someone like H.M. I can't even spare him any hatred now. The closer I get to graduation, the busier I become, spinning like a top. In my previous life, in order to take care of Han Wenzhou, I missed several exams while rushing back and forth, and even fainted from exhaustion on the day of the postgraduate entrance exam. Now that heaven has given me another chance to start over, I will cherish it all the more, not wanting to waste a single moment on irrelevant people. Freed from these external distractions, I devoted myself wholeheartedly to self-improvement, diligently studying academics and actively participating in competitions to win awards. In my senior year, I successfully secured a spot for graduate school admission without taking the entrance exam. At the same time, during the autumn recruitment process, I received offers from several well-known companies thanks to my outstanding resume. My favorite company, upon learning that I had secured a spot for graduate school, was still willing to reserve a job offer for me after I completed my postgraduate studies. To make it more convenient for my internship, I moved out of the dormitory. However, downstairs in the apartment I rented, I ran into the person I least wanted to see in my life. The cold rain pattered down, a chilly wind rustled, and the sound of tires rolling echoed from the wet ground. Han Wenzhou hadn't brought an umbrella, wearing only a thin white shirt as he huddled in his wheelchair. The drizzle soaked his body, his hair and clothes clinging wetly to his skin, much like a stray puppy. Only this time, I won't be taking him home again. I used to love seeing him in a white shirt, the youthful, carefree boy in white made my heart flutter through countless seasons. Now, all I want to say is, you cunning man, playing the sympathy card. Huh. I clicked my tongue in disdain. Pitying a man brings a lifetime of misfortune. The moment he saw me, his eyes lit up slightly. He straightened his back a little and slowly wheeled his chair toward me. He looked somewhat awkward, hesitating to speak, and finally blurted out, Xiao Yun, have you been doing well? I lost my patience and turned to go upstairs. Seeing that I was about to leave, he panicked completely and reached out to hug me. I was so disgusted that I darted 10 meters away with a serpentine movement, as if he were some repulsive bug. His hand froze in midair, a flicker of pain and confusion flashing in his eyes. Xiao Yun, are you still blaming me? He lowered his head, clutching his own hair in agony, and began to sob quietly. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I'm such a jerk. I let down your sincere feelings for me. As he spoke with emotion, he began slapping himself hard again. The person I've always liked is you. I was just confused by her. If she hadn't appeared, we would have been very happy together. Xiaoyun, please give me another chance. Okay. I swear, I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. This scene reminded me of a line from a book I read before. Men love to make vows the most, and their promises are no different from a dog's bark. The perfect overlap of the scene in the book with reality made me sneer involuntarily. I stared at him coldly, each word piercing straight to his heart. Oh. You want to compensate me with your crippled leaf eyes? That compensation or revenge? If that's the case, you should find someone else to compensate. I have no interest in being a free nanny. He looked at me in disbelief. You look down on me. I yawned and said sarcastically. How dare I look down on you? Han Wenzhou, this is your warrior's medal for charging into battle for love. You should cherish it. After saying that, I quickly walked toward the elevator. Just as I was about to press the button, Han Wenzhou's murmuring came from behind me. Clearly. In your previous life, you didn't care about these things. My steps paused, but only for a second. When I closed the balcony window, I looked down briefly at the ground below. Han Wenzhou was still standing there, motionless. Hearing the sound from the balcony, he suddenly looked up and shouted to me, my legs will definitely get better. Even if you despise me, I still love you. Xiaoyun, wait for me to come back. I'll prove to you how much I love you. The light sleeping auntie next door was woken up and angrily cursed. Can't you let people sleep? What's wrong with you in the middle of the night? You men are all liars. I silently gave the auntie a thumbs up in my heart. Han Wenzhou resentfully shut his mouth and left with a face full of sorrow. Only a lonely and stubborn back remained. Later, he squatted downstairs at my house for a few more days, after being turned away several times. He seemed to fall into a paranoid cycle. He believed that as long as his leg was healed, we could reconcile as before. He left me a cheesy confession letter and then left City B, frantically searching for a cure for his leg. But even though he was gone, he didn't stop his self-righteous concern. He somehow got hold of my contact information from someone, changed to a new number, and continued to harass me. I simply changed my number, keeping only a few regular contacts. My world has become much quieter. But I still occasionally hear news about him a few times. Some classmates said they saw him at a hospital in City A. And friends mentioned spotting him at a traditional Chinese medicine hospital in City C. He has indeed been reborn. These are all places I traveled to in my previous life to seek treatment for him, where the treatments had some effect. He's just following the same path I tried for him, copying exactly what I did. For a long time after that, even Brother Lu couldn't get in touch with him. Han Wenzhou seemed to have completely cut off contact with the outside world. I guess that after all hope was shattered, he must have gone to the deep mountains to find that reclusive miracle doctor. Just like I did back then. Old Lu has a peculiar temper and made many outrageous demands, hoping to make me give up. But for Han Wenzhou's sake, I gritted my teeth and persevered. Finally, he looked at me with a helpless expression, seeing the hope in my eyes, and nodded in agreement to make an exception for me. While Elder Lu was preparing the treatment plan, he stroked his beard and subtly said to me, once you catch the fish, you forget the trap. Once you cross the river, you dismantle the bridge. Girl, remember to be a bit more cautious and don't be too foolish. At that time, I was immersed in the joy that Han Wenzhou's legs had hope, and I didn't delve into the deeper meaning of his words. Thinking back now, as an outsider, he actually saw things more clearly than I did. It's just that I don't know whether this time Han Wenzhou's bit of false sincerity can move old Master Lu. But no matter what the outcome is, I no longer care. A new stage of life lies ahead, with more opportunities and challenges waiting for me. During my graduate studies, I met many like-minded friends and encountered mentors who were knowledgeable, earnest, and rigorous. Every day was busy and fulfilling. That day, as usual, I came back from studying at the library, and as soon as I walked in, I heard my roommate exclaiming, "Holy shit, Xia Yun. Come quick and take a look. Mr. Han of the Hanxia group is publicly confessing his feelings to you." I hadn't even processed it yet when my roommate's phone screen was already shoved right in front of my face. Hanxia Group is a rising game company that recently made a splash with a hit competitive game. Han Wenzhou, as the CEO and also the largest shareholder of the company, gave an interview to the media. With the experience from his past life, this time he didn't directly sell the copyright but instead founded his own gaming company. In the video, he was dressed in a sharp suit, exuding a mature and relaxed aura, chatting and laughing with the reporters. I noticed that Han Wenzhou's movements as he walked onto the stage just now were somewhat slow. My gaze instinctively shifted to his legs. And only then did I realize he was wearing a prosthetic limb. Sharp-eyed netizens clearly noticed this as well. The comments section was flooded with sympathy for him, exclaiming that the novel trope of a disabled CEO had become reality. Young, accomplished, resilient despite his disability, and with good looks to boot, the reporter inevitably steered the conversation toward gossip. Han Wenzhou chuckled softly, neither confirming nor denying it, but his words hinted at a childhood sweetheart he held dear. Several times, he mentioned the naming of his current company, and the reporter keenly grasped the key point. Seizing the opportunity, they pressed further with a question. "May I ask, President Han, what is the origin of the name Hanxia Group for your company?" Han Wenzhou smiled ambiguously. "The Han and Xia are taken from my surname and hers." He paused for a moment, looked up, and smiled at the camera. "Moreover, I plan to give her half of my shares as a betrothal gift." The venue erupted in an uproar. The journalists were stunned for a second, then immediately offered their congratulations. Han Wenzhou accepted them one by one, then rubbed his forehead with a somewhat helpless expression, saying, "But we've had some disagreements lately, and she might not want to see me." The comments section erupted like a stone thrown into a calm lake. "Who on earth is it? Living the good life. Damn. With a boyfriend like that, I'd slap myself if we ever argued. Disabled tycoon X spoiled childhood sweetheart. Oh my god. It's like a novel come to life. Lemon tree. Lemon fruit. Under the lemon tree. You and me. Am I the only one who thinks this childhood sweetheart is being a bit too dramatic?" Soon, netizens dug up my information, and enthusiastic users began helping Han Wenzhou chase after his wife across all platforms. In just a short while, some fans even started writing fanfiction about us. The more I looked, the deeper my frown became, feeling as if I had been forced to swallow something unpleasant. I have to say, Han Wenzhou, you really have a knack for being disgusting. It's the kind of thing that would give you nightmares just thinking about it. I was so startled that I quickly handed the phone back to my roommate and immediately started collecting the love stories of Han Wenzhou and Shen over the years. Fortunately, I had saved all their videos and photos showing off their affection before deleting them, just in case I was suddenly subjected to moral coercion one day. I spent the whole evening sorting through the timeline of when they started dating. In the process, I even polished their poignant love story a bit and compiled it into a PowerPoint presentation over 100 pages long. It's so detailed that it could practically be shown at their wedding. Damn. I've become a fan of their CP. The next day, before I could even post the clarification, the outside world had already turned upside down. At first, I was lured by senior students under the same advisor, on the pretext of work, to the square across from the school, just as I realized something was wrong and wanted to run. Fireworks in a riot of colors formed my name and burst across the sky over the entire city. The fireworks went off, and so did I, watching the massive fireworks boldly announce their presence in the sky in sequencered orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and purple. I wished I could dig a tunnel on the spot and escape. Han Wenzhou looked deeply affectionate, kneeling on one knee, one leg fitted with a prosthesis glinting faintly with metallic light. A few sentimental passers-by were moved to cover their mouths and cry, while shouts of "marry him" rose and fell all around. Han Wenzhou himself also seemed deeply moved. holding 999 roses in one hand and a diamond ring in the other. Alright. You're hitting me with something big right from the start. I was completely dazzled by Han Wonjo's flashy and elaborate performance. For two people in love. This is the other person's clumsy yet passionate expression of affection. But I just find it disgusting. I've already witnessed such a grand proposal once in my past life. It was in the video of Han Wonjo proposing to Shanine. He didn't even change the process. I closed my eyes. Not even having the courage to look at him. Listening to the same lines he had used to propose to Shanine in my previous life. I felt like my toes could dig out a dreamy Barbie castle, just as I was thinking about how to escape this place. Shanine rescued me from my awkwardness. She rushed out from the crowd, her eyes red, and threw herself toward Han Wonjo. Once the pride of heaven, she was forced to shoulder a massive debt due to her father's imprisonment. No longer carrying the arrogance of the past, Shanine pitifully poured out her affection to Han Wonjo. Wonjo, none of those words were true. I haven't been seeing anyone else. I deliberately staged that scene for you to see. After everything that happened in my family. I just didn't want you to suffer with me. Wah wah wah. You. How could you betray me and fall for Xia Yun? But Han Wonjo was in no mood to listen to her fabricated nonsense. He had just been knocked off balance by her sudden lunge. And his prosthetic limb had come loose. Rolling away toward the crowd. Proud as he was. The prosthetic limb was his last vestige of dignity and self-respect. The carefully crafted facade of strategic control he had painstakingly maintained crumbled apart in that instant. He shoved Shanine aside and, dragging his body, anxiously groped for his prosthetic limb among the feet of the crowd. Shanyin's words exploded like thunder among the crowd, causing a commotion on the scene. Someone, it was unclear who, kicked the prosthetic limb, sending it rolling to my feet, under Han Wonjo's earnest gaze. I leisurely slipped my hands into my pockets and turned to leave without hesitation. 14. With many people filming videos in the square and the previous buzz being high enough, the incident quickly became a trending topic. Among the thousands of comments, most were criticizing Han Wonjo and Shanine for their questionable actions, with a few occasionally blaming me for being too cold toward Han Wonjo, a person with a disability. One comment stood out particularly among these remarks. Damn. I was in the class next to theirs in college. They were already crazy back then. How did they manage to go viral with their antics? Curious onlookers quickly rushed to ask for more details. The original poster didn't hold back, sharing a lengthy comment from a third-person perspective. Each one of these is absolutely explosive on its own. The three things that are the most breathtaking are these. First, blood. When Shanine was breaking up with Han Wonjo, he ran around the girl's dormitory where she lived in the rain, shouting as he ran, "Shanine, do you know whose love you're rejecting? The love of a god." Double kill. During a physical exam, when blood was drawn, Han Wonjo kissed the needle mark on Shanyin's arm to ease her pain. Triple kill. In the restaurant, Han Wonjo sucked each of Shanyin's fingers one by one in front of the waiter after the waiter accidentally bumped into them. After reading it, the onlookers were completely stunned. Someone curiously asked me, "Then what does Xia Yun count as between them?" The third wheel. The original poster instantly replied, "No, she's the big fool. A buddy of mine knows Han Wonjo. Back when they first started college, Han Wonjo was planning to confess to Xia Yun. But on his way to confess, he fell in love with Shanine at first sight. He said it was the first time he felt his soul tremble. So he gave up on confessing and turned around to pursue Shanine instead." Netizens instantly felt pity for me, and those who had previously criticized me for being cold-hearted also apologized one after another. Han Wonjo's newly established persona as a devoted lover crumbled overnight. Seizing the moment when the topic was at its peak, I posted the timeline and PPT I had organized, along with the caption, "Childhood friends can't compare to a destined encounter. You've been shipping the wrong couple. Han Wonjo and Shanine. The mad couple. Xia Yun. The great unfortunate." These two hashtags instantly surged to the top of the trending list. The stock of Hanxia Group plummeted. leaving Han Wonjo overwhelmed and extremely busy. At the same time, Shen Yin kept pestering him relentlessly. Truly a case of chasing a husband into a crematorium. She had nothing left now and could only cling desperately to Han Wonjo as her lifeline. But she didn't know that the more she acted this way, the more Han Wonjo grew to dislike her. The timeline of the Shen family's bankruptcy was a year earlier than in the previous life. Out of curiosity, I looked into it and found that Han Wonjo had actually played a role in pushing it forward, probably to get back at Shen Yin for cheating on him. No wonder Shen Yin spoke so emotionally, yet he remained unmoved. Turns out he was the one driving it all along. After learning about this, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of sorrow. His sincerity toward Shen Yin was nothing more than that. I stopped deliberately following their back-and-forth drama. But every day, netizens would tag me to come and watch the show. Since that's the case, I suppose I'll just take a quick look. Until one day, Shen Yin triumphantly stopped me. She looked like a victorious rooster, provocatively raising her head and waving the pregnancy test report in her hand. Xia Yun, you've lost again this time. I'm pregnant. I showed no expression and responded, "Oh, congratulations." My indifferent attitude angered her, and she began to vividly describe the intimate details of her time with Han Wonjo. The explicit nature and steamy content made me feel as though I had stepped into a love hotel's bedroom. At this moment, we are standing right by the main road, surrounded by a constant flow of people and vehicles. I silently covered my face. It's really embarrassing to stand with her. If I have committed a crime, let the law punish me, not make me listen to erotic stories on the street. What's the difference between this and taking a dump on the main road? Before she could say anything more shocking, I quickly interrupted her spellcasting. Shen Yin thought she had provoked me, and her smile grew even more smug. Xia Yun, he will definitely marry me. You must come to our wedding when the time comes. But the next second, Shen Yin's smile froze on her face. A clear handprint appeared on her face. She looked in disbelief at Han Wonjo, who had rushed over. You hit me, you bitch. How dare you scheme against me? You used to act so high and mighty, and now that you've fallen on hard times, you went straight to drugging me and climbing into my bed. Shen Yin held her belly, on the verge of tears. How can you say that about me? I only did it because I love you. I know you're saying that in anger. I've already regretted it. And I'm even carrying your child. Can't we forget those unpleasant things from before and live our lives together properly? Han Wonjo looked disgusted. Pa, who knows whether the child in your belly is even mine? Han Wonjo, you're going too far. Fine. You forced me into this. I'm going to your company right now and let all your employees know what an irresponsible scumbag you are. After saying that, Shen Yin pulled open the door of a taxi by the roadside while crying. Han Wonjo hurriedly chased after her, and before leaving, he didn't forget to disgust me with a line. Be good. I'll come find you after I handle these matters. Seriously, are you out of your mind? I stood there in utter disbelief, feeling completely bewildered in the wind. Following the last fireworks confession video, netizens quickly updated the material. Their new round of crazy antics soon appeared in the reenactments of various drama bloggers. Some people even captured my speechless expression and turned it into a meme gif, with the caption, "Stop acting crazy." As I looked at the memes and jokes netizens were making, I felt both amused and exasperated. Many lovely netizens came to encourage me, telling me never to forgive that disgusting man. I followed their good advice, staying away from the crazy couple and enjoying a happy life. Just at that time, the school had a rural research project, and I decisively applied for it. Unexpectedly, the place we went to for the rural research was right next to the mountain where the legendary Dr. Old Lu had lived in seclusion in my previous life. After finishing today's research tasks, the mentor and classmates gradually returned to the arranged dormitories to rest. With nothing to do, I wandered over to the bamboo grove where Old Lu often strolled, just to give it a try. As I approached the bamboo grove, I saw Old Lu's energetic back as he practiced Tai Chi. Seeing that my old friend was safe and sound, I felt relieved. just about to leave quietly. I accidentally stepped on a piece of dry wood. Hearing the sound, old Lou immediately turned his head. Seeing it was me, a hint of surprise and delight flickered in his deep eyes. I tentatively spoke. Old Lou. Old Lou snorted with a touch of pride, pretending to be profound as he greeted. Girl. Long time no see. I smiled, not delving into why he also retained memories from his previous life. As long as we were both safe and well, that was enough. I jogged over, carrying the wine jug for him as I used to, and followed him up the mountain toward the bamboo hut. A jug of wine and a plate of peanuts were enough for two friends, despite their age difference, to chat back and forth for quite a while. After testing my current attitude toward Han Wonjo, Elder Shen finally told me about Han Wonjo coming up the mountain to seek his medical help. The little old man proudly told me that he had Han Wonjo dig up wild vegetables from an entire mountain and carry manure for 2 months. In the end, he drove him down the mountain and told him to find another job. Han Wonjo had no choice. After fitting his prosthetic limb, he struggled through over a year of rehabilitation before barely managing to walk slowly again. I couldn't help but laugh at old Lou's vivid description. Mr. Shen looked me over carefully and asked me again. Young lady, you really don't like him anymore, do you? I said playfully. Of course not. If you happen to know any quality men, you must introduce them to me first. Mr. Shen's eyes lit up, and he immediately flipped through his phone book. He pointed to a long list of numbers and introduced them to me one by one. This is the nephew of my eldest apprentice's family. He's 5 years older than you. The chief neurosurgeon at the First People's Hospital in City A. Handsome as Pannon. Steady, thoughtful, and considerate. This is my second apprentice's son. He just came back from studying in Germany this year. The more he spoke, the more excited he got, and in the end he simply shoved the phone book into my arms. Forget it. I think they all sound pretty good. Why don't you add them all and get to know them one by one? I refuse to believe you can't pick out even one you're satisfied with. I held the phone book, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. You're really a person of action, old man. The old man proudly lifted his chin. Of course, back in the day, I was the first among my buddies to win over a wife. The signal in the mountains was poor, and our team was practically offline during the research period. By the time we finished our research, the tragic love story between Shen-in and Han Wonjo had already progressed to a life-and-death stage. In order to force Han Wonjo to take responsibility, Shen-in went straight to the rooftop of our school and threatened him with suicide. The two of them stood in a stalemate on the rooftop for over an hour, endlessly bringing up old grievances. The principal let out a sharp, piercing scream, and the security guard on duty today was sweating profusely. In the end, to protect the company's reputation, Han Wonjo adopted a delaying tactic, promising Shen-in that he would marry her after she gave birth. And this farce finally came to an end. My roommate was dancing and gesturing excitedly as she performed a live reenactment right in front of me. You have no idea how hilarious these two are. They were bargaining back and forth like vendors at a vegetable market. Shen-in demanded that President Han marry her right away. But President Han said no, insisted on waiting until after the baby was born and a paternity test was done. Shen-in said that was too long and she could only wait 6 months at most. Shen-in is happy again, posting daily on her platform about how much Han Wonjo loves her, and tagging me in every single video. Of course, she also didn't forget to mention the child in her belly, showcasing her pregnant belly in creative ways 3 times a day on schedule. Until one day, she stopped updating. An insider revealed that she had been involved in an unexpected car accident, resulting in a miscarriage. The person who hit her was a middle-aged man she had never met, and it seemed to be just an accident caused by drunk driving. But Shen-in didn't believe it. She was just like Kayun, who had lost her child, running around the streets randomly claiming children as her own. This time, Han Wonjo surprisingly stayed by her side for a while. Passers-by unintentionally captured photos of them shopping together, which actually had a touch of warmth. Just when everyone thought they were going to settle down and live a stable life, News suddenly broke about the shocking social incident where Shin In stabbed Han Wonjo multiple times. The news mentioned Shin Yin's motive. She accidentally discovered the driver's phone number in Han Wonjo's phone, grew suspicious, and eventually found out that the car accident had been orchestrated by Han Wonjo. She also incidentally uncovered evidence that her father's imprisonment was due to information provided by Han Wonjo to her father's competitors. Shin Yin's mental state was already unstable, and during the argument, she directly grabbed a fruit knife from the table. Although not fatal, Han Wonjo suffered severe kidney damage and will have to live with a urine bag for the rest of his life. During the police investigation, doctors diagnosed Shin In with a mental disorder, and she could only be sent to a psychiatric hospital for treatment. Han Wonjo was sentenced to 7 years in prison for hiring someone to commit assault. On the day he was imprisoned, I had just graduated with my master's degree. He asked someone to pass along that he wanted to see me again. I politely declined outright. What a joke. See him. Elder Liu has arranged more than a dozen blind dates with quality young men for me, and I can't even get through all of them. How could I have time to bother with him? End.